sitting here at a bar brings me back to when I was much younger, and when I used to work as a barkeeper for many years. So I feel very much at home in the cafe, even though I must say that tonight we are supposed to talk about much more serious stuff than the things I used to talk about when I was still working in the bar. The political cafe which you brought to The Hague, Brussels, Bucharest, Paramaribo even, and now to Sofia, fits in a European tradition where the cafe or the cafeteria or the music salon played an important role in revolutionary times. There were places where politicians, dissidents came together, talked about politics, thought about conspiracies or whatever. They were important. Now, by coincidence, some days ago, a book was presented with the meaningful title Cafe Europe. And I brought a copy of this book. It is in Bulgarian bound, but you are a very creative and inventive person, so I'm quite sure you'll find somebody to translate it for you. This as a token of my appreciation for your initiative. One of the things the book talks about is the culture in the Turkish cafe under the Ottoman Empire. I know this is not a very pleasant part of Bulgarian history, but it is a reality. And one of the rules in those cafes was, do not interrupt the person who is speaking. But at the same time, there was another rule, namely it is unpolite not to give somebody the floor. So I will be brief and give you ample opportunity to take the floor yourself. So what is a cafe? It's a place for debate, a political debate. Also in Sofia, you have these cafes. The famous Bulgarian writer Ivan Basel, who wrote Under the Yoke, used to frequent a cafe which is called Cafe Bulgaria. Later on, not too much longer later, in 1908, another cafe, the famous Tsar Osovoliko confectionery, became the place where the avant-garde of literature and politics and culture came together. And in the 30s, the writer Elie Pelin and other intellectuals used to frequent a cafe which was called the Royal Cafe. And this was all before the other period in Bulgarian history that left such a great impact on this country. Now, what is the relevance of political debate? I believe this is important. I'm very pleased that also a group of students is here. Because I think that political debate is a very important cornerstone of democracy. Without political debate, democracy is empty. And on top of that, I don't see many politicians here, and that's good, because politics is too important to leave it up to politicians or to diplomats, for that matter. To add one step more, the democratic state cannot be stable unless it is effective and legitimate with respect and support for its citizens. This is very important in a society. And those citizens together form civil society. And of course you have relations, how well civil society is organized. But this is an important subject, because civil society is not only a check or a monitor of the government, the state, but it is also the very vital partner of the state. The state cannot do without a vibrant civil society. This is important. Now this brings me to Europe, Cafe Europe. Europe is for citizens. The Europe of the people. You know this slogan. Which means that we have to create the European future with the citizens. In my own country, we forgot about this. 2 years ago, the Dutch public said no against the European Constitution, simply because we forgot to talk to citizens about their own future in the European Union. They said, this is about us. You talked about us, but not with us. This is the relevance of political debate, also in the context of the European Union. Another aspect of the European Union is often forgotten. It is not a happy-making pill you take. It is much more the toolbox. The toolbox with tools to build your own future. And this we cannot just let the state do. This must be something of the whole society. And this future must be built also on the basis of the common values within the European Union. Values of solidarity, respect for human rights, plural democracy, you all know them. This brings, in my view, ownership and responsibility for the whole society. Of course, there should be a legitimate and effective state, but at the same time, we need a private sector which is playing its role. We need a vibrant civil society. And yes, also the media, they also play an important role. And each and every one of them play their own respective role, but it all adds up to a good society. And we need a good society, a strong society, with the rule of law, because we need to make Europe strong. I don't need to tell you that the agenda of the European Union is very ambitious. And it's not only Bulgaria that is trying to catch up with this agenda, it's also other countries, including my own. Now this brings me to the civil society in Bulgaria. A lot has been said about it, so I will just stick to some, maybe sometimes provocative statements. Where did Bulgaria come from when we look at civil society? What we saw just after the changes, beginning of the 90s, low citizens' participation in governing the country, in leading the country, in guiding its future. Disillusionment after a couple of years. The changes didn't bring much good for the citizens. And at the same time, what we saw that the civil society consisted of non-governmental organizations that were floating on donor funds. They were sort of parachuted from abroad into Bulgaria, which meant in practice that they did not have grassroots. They did not have their own constituency. And now, today, we see that this is one of the main problems of civil society in Bulgaria. Some even speak about the crisis in civil society, but that sort of supposes that there was a vibrant civil society. I believe that the civil society built up in Bulgaria was a deficient one, because it did not have its own constituency. It was completely dependent on foreign funds, including funds from my government, and they are all phasing out. So because of the lack of funding, the limited grassroots, we see a sort of crisis in the civil society. But there's another aspect which I would like to mention, which is a lack of confidence in civil society. Every day I receive emails, letters, telephone calls from Bulgarian citizens. Please help me. I have a problem with the government. I have a problem with the municipality. I have a problem with a license. whatever. This means that if they refer to a foreign diplomat, that there is something wrong in society. Obviously there is no structure, no civil structure they can use to channel their concerns, their complaints. Yes, we have the Ombudsman. That is one of the successes, I believe. We also, the Netherlands government has been supporting, is still supporting the Ombudsman, but we also know that the Ombudsman still has to grow in its role.